From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
You want to go where to buy a new refrigerator? Steve's A to Z Appliance in Cottonwood? In Cottonwood? Just a 10-minute drive. And they'll save us money. New and used, honest, reliable, factory-trained repair service and parts, and they'll save us money. And dispose of this thing? We gotta make the short drive to Steve's A to Z. Thanks, son.
Steve's A to Z Appliance, front and main streets in Cottonwood. Drive a little, save a lot.
Friday has finally arrived, and you know we've got some hot temperatures to really wrap up the week. In fact, the peak of this heat wave I've been talking about even since last week, it's going to arrive today, and then temperatures will start to drop as we go through the weekend. Now, the thing is, I'm still expecting to see above average highs through next week. Most likely staying in well into the 90s for most of the valley here through next week. So that cooling trend, that cooler air we were talking about a few days ago, that's pretty much gone. And now it's pretty much going to be kind of more of that summer type heat as we go through next week. I don't expect any rain going into long range either. Take a look at some of the high temperatures we do expect here for today. In some areas we could possibly break or tie a record out at the Redding Airport. We will be close for Red Bluff, but I think elsewhere I don't think we're going to break any records. However, places like Mount Shasta, yeah, you may either tie or break a record as well. So it's getting borderline pretty close to breaking some records. I wouldn't be surprised if we broke a few records later on today. All right, let's get you through Krueger's Quick Cast here for your Friday, May 30th. It is Friday. You're heading out the door this morning. You're getting the kids off to school. You're getting yourself off to work. There will be some of that fog along the coast. Otherwise, you're looking at 50s and 60s for the higher elevations and in the 70s for 8 o'clock this morning for the valley. So can't really see it too clearly, but there is an arc in the clouds. You can kind of see the clouds moving up and over the ridge. This ridge will continue to build. It will get stronger. We've got that heat building in, and this will be the hottest day of the year so far. And the first will see 100 degrees in most cases for the valley here. In fact, everyone in the valley. Fire weather risk, unfortunately, is going to get rather high later on this afternoon. You can see at 5 p.m. we're getting into the oranges, even a few reds in there. So we are getting well into that high category. Dry. The winds aren't terribly strong, but the heat is going to be one of the contributing factors as well. We still have that heat advisory for today for Humboldt County, Trinity County, and elsewhere for today and tomorrow, as those temperatures are going to peak today. But as I mentioned, by tomorrow, they should start to drop. So I've got about 106. You know, you could maybe tack on a degree or two in some spots here. I'm being a little conservative with these temperatures here, but that's essentially what we're going to be looking at here for today in the valley. 100 degrees or higher, any way you look at it there. Temperatures mainly in the 90s, even some triple digits for some of the warmer spots in the higher elevations. And I'm expecting mid-60s, give or take, for the coast, and we'll call it partly cloudy skies. So here's your 7-day outlook. You see how temperatures drop slightly on Saturday. We're going to shave off a degree or two. Then Sunday, we're back below 100 degrees. But look at next week. Especially out towards Redding and Red Bluff, you're going to be flirting with that triple-digit reading here pretty much all next week. I think for Chico, you'll be in the mid to upper 90s, but any way you slice it, it is going to be some summer heat through next week. Not quite as cool as we were initially thinking here, even just a few days ago. Taking a look at Siskiyou, Modoc County, Eastern Mountain, also seeing that drop in the temperatures, and I think we'll kind of level out in the 70s and 80s for those daytime highs. All right, that's a look at Krueger's Quick Cast. Do want to remind you there's a free 24-hour streaming channel anywhere Weather NorCal is available. The free Weather NorCal app, weathernorcal.com. And you can also watch it on your big screen TV. You have Fire Stick or Roku. Just search for Weather NorCal in the App Store there. Download that app for free. You're looking at this, the 24-hour streaming channel. And the beauty of the YouTube app is that you can also, on your big screen TV on demand, watch the latest video forecast. So check that out. It's really cool. I think you'll really enjoy it. Okay, so here you go. We've got that ridge of high pressure, as I mentioned. We're starting to see those clouds move up and over that ridge. High pressure is building in, and that's going to give us those warmer temperatures. So let's talk about the fire weather risk here. And you can see the winds here this morning, a little breezy, especially for the north and west side of the valley. Still a little breeze this afternoon, but this is nothing unusual that we're seeing here. The bottom line, when we look at the next few days with those winds, we're not seeing any major wind events. it'll just get a little gusty. Now, this is something I'm watching very closely on Saturday because we do have a bit of a northwest wind coming in for the north end of the valley. We could see gusts approach that 30-mile-an-hour range. This is obviously a concern because it will still be hot and it will probably be even drier on Saturday. Then we go into your Sunday, that is at 12 p.m. Those winds picking up again a little bit from the south here. So we may be looking at some high fire danger again, even for your Sunday. So let's take a look at fire weather risk here. So as we take you through the afternoon today, low humidity. And as I mentioned, the winds aren't going to be too terribly strong, so we are going to be in that high range of right about here, right? So that's what we're looking at here for the valley as we go in this afternoon. But Saturday already starting off pretty dry. We'll be even drier by the time we go into the afternoon on Saturday. We're getting some deep oranges and some reds. Now we're getting into the very high category here. So I do expect, especially those gusty winds coming in Saturday afternoon, that could pose a threat for fire weather risk. By the way, we're beginning to get more into the high category for some of us in the eastern mountains. So we do need to be aware of that as we go into the next couple of days as well. Let's take you into your Sunday morning. And Sunday morning, we're getting some good recovery. We're in the 40 to even 50% range, looking a lot of green on the map, but we're going to quickly see it go to yellow by midday and by the afternoon on Sunday. I do think we're going to see at the very least some oranges entering the picture again, as I do expect those winds to maybe pick up again in the afternoon. This is something we haven't seen in a while. Typically, we've been anywhere in the green to yellow. So that's in the little to no risk to low risk when you're in the yellow. But now we're starting to see some brown on the map here, and that's a category up as far as fire danger is concerned, which means we're getting in that moderate risk here based on this particular forecast map. So this is just another confirmation that Saturday is going to be a day that we've really got to be careful because we've got the highest fire danger at that point. Take a look at the May temperatures, and this is a map I pulled out over the last few days here, just to kind of show you the big spread in temperatures we've seen throughout the month of May. We've been anywhere from as low as 63 degrees on May 12th, and the hottest we saw was actually yesterday. Not quite 100, but it was close with a high of 99 degrees. So we saw temperatures just kind of going up and down all month long. And when we go into your today, yeah, now we're talking about some triple digits in there. So we do have that heat advisory for Humboldt County for today. We have it for Trinity County and everywhere else for today and tomorrow. It's just going to be hot. We look at that National Weather Service heat risk. A lot of reds in there. That's major. Now, major basically means that anyone, this can affect anyone, doesn't matter how healthy you are, if you don't have proper hydration or a way to stay cool. That's the bottom line when we're looking at this heat risk and what it means to you. So if you've got a proper way to stay cool, air conditioning, lots of water to drink, you'll be just fine. But there are people who don't have that way to stay cool, and that's where it can be dangerous for people like that. So that's why we need to make sure that we are watching our neighbors, watching our loved ones, even our pets are susceptible to that. Now you'll notice we're seeing less red on the map, but we're still within that major category for many of you on Saturday in the valley. And then going into your Sunday, we're getting more into that orange, which means it's going to impact less people. So has summer arrived? Well, officially no, but it certainly does feel like it, especially with that heat peaking for today. Now the thing is, we were initially thinking that this cooler air by Sunday into Monday was going to dive down to the south. Now the latest forecast models are what's happening is this is pushing through. That's why our temperatures are dropping slightly on Saturday. Then on Sunday, we see that cooler air kind of push off to the east. Some energy breaks off from that area of low pressure, that trough, but it's not going to be very cool. So temperatures, yes, they will drop back down below 100 degrees for the valley by Sunday, but then that moves on out and we've got some heat coming in from this high pressure kind of building into Northern California on Monday. Now as we go into Tuesday, Wednesday, really through next week, what we've got here are these series of storms that are riding to our north. Now they're pretty far to the north, but what they're doing is they're flattening out the ridge. So instead of a nice prominent big arc in that ridge of high pressure, it flattens out. So this, as a result, weakens. That means our temperatures aren't going to be quite as hot either. That being said, I still think the north end of the valley around Redding and even Red Bluff could possibly be flirting with those triple digits through a good portion of next week when we're talking about temperatures in the upper 90s. All right, so for Redding, here you go. There's the peak today. Then temperatures start to drop. Now by Sunday, we're down to 95. But you see how it just kind of levels out between 98 and 99, maybe even around 100 degrees by the time we go through next week. Now for Chico, we'll probably be more in the mid to upper 90s for those daytime highs, but you get the idea. The normal high is about 86 for this time of the year, so we'll be well above that, even though we're dropping below 100 degrees. But it looks like for Redding at least, just barely. So it looks pretty hot as we go through next week, and that's why I posed that question. Has summer arrived? Because it certainly is going to feel like it. So there you can see the lake level, still very healthy. We've got lots of water out there. Nothing to be concerned about when we're talking about the lakes. Let's take a look at the wave heights because they are expected to increase as we go into your Saturday. Here's Saturday morning, not that bad. Saturday afternoon, they're starting to pick up, and they'll probably pick up even more by Saturday evening into Sunday. So for your Friday, northwest winds at about 10 to 15 knots. Your waves from the north at 5 feet at 7 seconds and from the west at 5 feet at 12 seconds. There is a gale watch for Saturday evening through Sunday evening. So just be aware of that if you do need to be on a small boat. Here's your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. Some triple digits, some 70s, some 90s, and even some 80s. 88 degrees for Mad River and 97 for Ruth. See how the temperature is dropping. Now, at least for Weaverville, you will drop down into the 90s by Saturday and keep it in the low to mid 90s through next week. For your North Coast neighborhood forecast, we're seeing about 97 for Garberville, 96 in Alder Point. Look at Shelter Cove getting pretty warm with a high of about 69 degrees, but 100 for Hoopo, 102 for Willow Creek, and Orleans about 94. And there are those temperatures, again, mid-60s for most of us along the coast, give or take. For Siskiyou County, you've got 101 for Happy Camp. Otherwise, you should be below 100 degrees elsewhere, but mainly in the 90s for those daytime highs, and then eventually dropping down to the 80s for Sunday through next week. Your Modoc County neighborhood forecast. Temperatures in the low 90s for your daytime highs, about 93 for Alturas, 92 degrees for California Pines. Temperatures dropping down to the 80s by Sunday, 70s from Monday through Wednesday, back up to about 82 by Thursday. So you can see temperatures are getting a little bit more mild as we do go through next week. Take a look at the Eastern Mountains, mainly in the 90s, although you can see places like Viola about 87, 99 for Quincy and Susanville about 96 degrees. Your Valley neighborhood forecast to the south, it's going to be over 100 degrees pretty much anywhere you go in the valley. West side of the valley, Pasquenta, Elk Creek about 103, 106 for Los Molinos and Chico, a high of about 104 degrees. There's your 7-day forecast for Chico. We're back down to 94 on Sunday. So let's talk about temperatures mid to upper 90s, most likely through next week. Up to the north, about 106 for Redding, all the way down to Red Bluff and Palo Cedro at 105 in the city of Shasta Lake and Bella Vista, 101 for Whiskeytown and Lakehead, a high of 100 degrees. And there's your 7-day forecast for Redding. We're down to 95 on Sunday, but look at that. I mean, anywhere between 98 and 99 for Monday through Thursday of next week. That's your morning update. I'll be back again at noon for your latest forecast. Have a great morning.
At Wind River Resort and Casino, we like to celebrate life's little moments. Oh, and the big ones too. Because around here, when you're completely in the moment, that's when the magic happens. Come in and find your moment at Wind River Resort and Casino.